Well, I recently arrived this morning, so it's quite new still, but I've been here once before, and I always love visiting El Ojo because it's inspiring. I think Latino creativity is some of the best in the world. I think Latino creatives are very good at storytelling and moving human beings emotionally in a way that is unlike any other culture that I know. And I'm always intrigued to see the new trends coming out of this region. I think it's a region that's connected to culture. It's a region that's connected to humanity and maybe has more life inside of them than a lot of other cultures that I've either been lucky enough to travel to or live in. And I love that because it inspires me. I love that because I'm so irritated with this stupid, myopic conversation that Trump is having in the United States. It's so backward. It depresses me to think that that's the best leader that the world can find for America. And I love the idea of fuck the wall because there's so many talented people in the world that are unified with commonalities that are the same than they are divided. And I think in a time where small groups of people are trying to divide culture and separate people and put some kind of groups against other groups, I think the more we can unify around commonalities, the better. I think we're more alike than we are unalike. I think it's always so inspiring for me to see the power of collective creativity. Like when a group of people put their heads together and think creatively and exchange creatively and find new ways creatively to solve problems in the world. The power of collective thinking is so much more exponential and effective than individual thinking. So conferences like this are so important because they unify a collective consciousness. They inspire youth culture to think bigger. And I think that's so important for the world, especially now the world needs creative solutions more than ever before. Less sleep, more travel, more of an overview of different trends happening in the world. It's amazing. It's such a privilege to be able to work with different countries and different places and different cultures because you learn so much. And as a global creative director, you've got the ability to connect the dots, to become sort of the matchmaker of ideas and talent in a way that can produce much bigger and better thinking. So for me, it's really liberating and exciting to be a choreographer of creativity in the world and have the privilege and the honor of having that given to me as a role. I think that's a great question. I mean, I try to stay humble. I don't ever think that I know more than anybody else about what we do. I learn every day, and I feel honored by people around me being brilliant and talented. And you know, also, I think my role is more of a connector and an inspirer than it is to tell people what to do. And being a global creative collective, being the most radically open creative collective in the world, we have the ability for our clients to scale ideas, to make them culturally relevant, to find local insights that connect with local cultures in a much more powerful, valuable way for our brands. And I think that's the key, to never think that you know it all, because you don't. And culture moves so quickly, and things change so quickly in the world that we have to keep up to speed with that. And the only way to do that is to be very locally, culturally connected with the most hungry, inquisitive people and curious minds in the world to do it. I think before I arrived, TBWA had gone through quite a lot of change, and they had won a lot of business and they had lost quite a bit of business when I first arrived there. The biggest change was that Troy Ruhanen became the new global CEO of the company. And I believe success and innovation is all about the people. When I met Troy, he said, come for a coffee. And I had a coffee with him, and within 5 minutes I knew this was the partner that I really wanted to work with, because he was open-minded, innovative, entrepreneurial, and dynamic. And he managed to change the sort of management at the top level, because I think if you don't change the top, everything else sort of corrodes from there. And in the space of a year and a half, he's managed to do such a dramatic turnaround of TBWA that it's probably, I think, one of the most inspiring, innovative companies in the world to work for. So all we've been doing in the last year is driving innovation and change and driving towards a much clearer North Star, reintroducing disruption at the heart of what we do as a business, owning disruption, embracing it, and actually trying to stretch that into new ways to work, new ways to connect with culture in the world. And it's exciting because we're on this road of discovery. We haven't discovered everything yet. There's still so much more to do. And there's momentum. So it feels like we're on an upward trajectory, and it's exciting to be a creative and part of that journey. Well, I think as an industry, we've been dragged through the ringer, if it's another way to put it. But like we've been attacked from all sides in the last 15 years, from procurement, from other startups stealing our lunch, from tech companies, from clients going in-house and bringing creative departments internally in their business. So as an industry, we need to innovate. We need to find new streams of revenue. We need to be much more dynamic and creative with the way we work and engage with our clients, and actually prove our value to our clients by building equity in their brands, connecting their brands to culture. And when you truly embrace the idea of becoming the disruption company, and you truly embrace the idea of connecting with 21st century culture and ensuring that our brands behave like 21st century brands in the world today, that requires a whole new model. It requires a whole new way of working. And it forces us to open our minds, open up to the outside world, and look beyond an inwardly focused model. I think a lot of other networks in the world are still way behind the curve on that. I think they're very obsessed with internal culture, with what they've done in the past, and it's changed. It's not about building these monuments and putting them out as these finite campaigns in the world anymore. It's about moving at the speed of culture, evolving at the speed of culture, and creating and connecting at the speed of culture. I love the idea of this dynamic, organic, creative collective with no borders, no boundaries, no rules, no format. And I love the idea of having a lot more makers as part of a collective that can actually truly make stuff happen than talkers. I think there's been a big shift from clients servicing to making product. And I think our job is to make amazing product in the world and make it at the pace of culture. So my perfect agency model would be one where you walk into work every day and cool shit's being made all the time. It's a great question. I mean, we've been looking at a way. I think our role as a company is to identify disruptive ideas for our clients and our brands, and define then brand narratives in a way, and then choreograph creativity. So that means hiring the best talent globally in our collective, but it also means opening up and connecting with outside influencers that are the most talented influencers in the world too. So there's a big role for YouTube creators, for influencers outside of our collective to collaborate with us and amplify our ideas and spread them to the world in a way. So as long as we know what our North Star is for a brand, what our purpose is, what our belief as a brand is, like Gatorade, for example, we know that it's all about win from within. In is greater than on. Or Airbnb, we know that our disruption idea is don't just go there, live there. As long as we know that, then we can connect with culture in lots of tactical ways that ladder up to a bigger purpose. And influencers and YouTube makers and celebrities can all fuel that same noble purpose in different tactics and different ways. We're finding there's different life stages of brands. Either you're looking at a lot of startup brands in the 21st century that are at the point of leaping over a chasm to scale and go global. And that's a big challenge for them because often these are kids. They're like 26-year-old kids that have suddenly made this huge success out of a tech idea or a business idea, and now they have to scale and go global. And that's where we can help as a company, because we can find local insights, help them scale, help them develop a brand narrative that takes them over that chasm, that leap of faith, to a much bigger operation. So that's the one place that we're playing in a lot in 21st century startup culture. And then the other place we're playing is mid-century brands that have maybe lost their way and lost their relevance in the world and need to reconnect with a younger audience again and find a relevant purpose or a belief that connects to youth culture. And that is why it's so important to be able to define a brand narrative and a purpose and a belief for a brand that's meaningful, that's valuable, that adds truth and value to people's lives. Because that's what makes the alchemy between brands and audiences out there. And we found a lot of mid-century brands have lost their way, and they need help reorientating and re-navigating a way through this. So we can help with that too. I wish I had a crystal ball, honestly. I think, as I said a couple of minutes ago in my talk, I think we're at the crossroads of one of the most exciting creative times in the history of what we do as an industry. I think we'll probably downscale and we'll outsource more than before. I think there'll always be a need for brand narrative, and I think we've spent 20, 30, 40 years training our minds how to think and define brand narratives and think strategically about brands and help navigate and map their course through culture. So I think there's going to be more and more of a need for that in the future. I think the more platforms that open up for storytelling or connections with our audiences, the more brands are going to need to stay very reductionist and clear with their disruption idea or their purpose. And the more they're going to need companies like TBWA to help them define that and help them navigate through a lot of choices of what they could do. And instead of doing everything, do the things they should do to get their brand narrative out in the world and connect with the right audiences. I think it's a great question. I mean, we've got a definite goal to reach gender equality by 2020. I think we've got a huge drive to produce iconic, culturally famous work that is famous in the world before it gets to awards festivals. We're going to continue to invest in talent. We believe that diversity leads to great creativity. So I believe in creating a circus of rock stars rather than a cookie-cutter replication of the same type of person. And our goals for the future is to always stay in beta, always stay innovating, always stay changing and innovating at the speed of culture. And hopefully next year, if I'm lucky enough to come back here, I've got a brand new narrative to tell you that's built off what we're doing at the moment. Thank you very much.